Welcome to Book Talk. So, this painting looks kind of crazy. It's this was painted by my sister. This is the first episode, by the way. It's a little bit informal. I'm in my gym room. As you can see, my bench, my dresser behind me. I got a little blanket on. This is nothing fancy. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm just here to share my comments about a few books I read. I'll insert like a video of my bookshelf. I just have a bunch of books, and I don't know. Hopefully there's people out there like me that like reading and listening to book reviews. This is the first episode. The first book I chose was The Atlantis Gene by A.G. Riddle. I've started to take it upon myself to kind of Google authors and where, what their backstory is. So A.G. Riddle, he grew up in North Carolina. He started a couple of internet businesses with a business partner of his, and none of them took off, and then he just wanted to start writing books, and this took off fairly quickly. In like 2 years he got on like one of Amazon's book promo lists. He went to UNC something Hill. He went to UNC Chapel Hill, which is University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And I looked into the college. The author himself didn't have anything scandalous behind his name that I could immediately find out that I was looking, but college itself, you look up the college and it's the opposite story. So I looked up UNC Chapel Hill, and as of 2023, August 2023, a professor there was actually killed by a student. And then in 2019, students toppled over one of their statues of Silent Sam. The story behind that is that one of the trustees gave a hateful speech when they unveiled that statue initially in like 1913 or something like that. So that school has a lot of racial tension behind it. It was also one of the significant locations in the 60s during the civil rights movement. They had a lot of political speeches done at that school. So that school seems kind of tense racially, but again, that had nothing to do with the actual author himself. That was just the college he went to, and I didn't know any of that. I just happened to Google the college, and that was on the Wikipedia page. But The Atlantis Gene, so this is the first book, and then I'll do like a little screenshot of what it looks like up close. The reason I chose this book was because I was obsessed with the word Atlantis for like a year ago. Mind you, I read this book like a year ago. I was obsessed with the lost city of Atlantis. I had just heard of it, by the way. I mean, I heard of it when I was young, but I never like took it serious and never like researched it. This book has the name Atlantis in it, The Atlantis Gene, and it came up on Amazon. So that's what made me choose the book. I was just obsessed with the word Atlantis at the time. A synopsis on what this book is about is it's told from a couple different perspectives. One perspective was from the viewpoint or the point of view of excavators in Antarctica, if that's how they want to name it. Mind you, I read this a year ago, so it's not too fresh off the top of my head. One point of view is told from like excavators, like here in the photo, they are kind of digging in the snow in Antarctica, and they're looking for artifacts, ancient artifacts that are buried in Antarctica. Another point of view is from David, who is an ex-CIA agent turned bodyguard. And then another point of view is from scientist Kate, and she's working with autistic kids, and I think, if I can remember correctly, I think she thinks that she's looking for the cure for autism, but whoever's bankrolling her whole project is using her data for more nefarious purposes. And so the kids that she's working with, they get kidnapped, and then her and David kind of just go on this dangerous adventure to get the kids back, pretty much. And it turns out that the people who stole the kids, they were a secret society based on the Nazis, or had relations to the Nazis, that were going around back in the day racking up ancient artifacts. So that's kind of what this book deals with, is kind of Nazism. It's kind of like Captain America, the first Captain America. You know, when they're the guy with the red face and the red skull, they're going around just taking ancient artifacts. That's like almost. It's not this exact book, but that idea is this book. So if I could rate this book, I would probably base it on the storyline give it out of 5 points. I'll do it out of 5 points. If I could rate this book out of 5, I would check off if the storyline was good. And personally, I would say yes, this was pretty good. It all depends what you're into. I don't know if you can see that, but I was into this book. I was into this type of storyline. Again, I was obsessed with the word Atlantis and the lost city of Atlantis, and this kind of did get into it slightly with the whole Antarctica thing. So that would be 1 point. The storyline, it was definitely interesting. Complexity, this was not complex at all. This was more like a young adult, teenagers to adult book. Like you could give this to a teenager. It's not complex at all. It'll get another point for that. Just like the length and the pace of this was pretty fast paced. And then if you can see here, it's a pretty thick book. This is like 436 pages, I think, but it's double spaced. And like one chapter could be just like this page. That's one chapter. So the chapters go by pretty quick. There's 130 some chapters in here, but they're, like I said, they're double spaced and they're quick to get through. You can read like 20 or 30 pages in one night, so it's not like it's impossible. I finished this in like a week, so it gets a point for that, for the length and the pace. It's a pretty quick fiction based book, so it's easy to read. 4th point would be, would I give this author more chances? Like, would I go and buy more A.G. Riddle books? The answer is yes, I definitely would. And I bought number 2. I haven't read it yet. How I kind of read, maybe I'll insert a picture of my bookshelf, but I have it sectioned off by genres, and I like to kind of nitpick by genre versus reading a whole trilogy all the way through. So I don't know, I haven't gotten back around to fiction yet. Definitely an author that I bought more books from already. I haven't read them, but they're sitting on my shelf. So yes, he gets a 4th point. Would I recommend this book to anybody? So I would say yes. Into, like I said, like those stories about how Nazis were into ancient relics and artifacts, Antarctica, the secrets of Antarctica, young reader type books, this is for you. Again, it's a little thick, but this is a story where it's kind of like, it's not that you can't put it down, but the chapters are so short that you're just like, man, I can read another 10 chapters and it'll feel like I'd only read a couple pages. So this was a very quick read. It just checked off all 5 points for me, all 5 bullet points for me, but I would give it a 4 out of 5 in my opinion, because it's not the end. I haven't read the end yet. I am so picky when it comes to the ending of books. I'm not impressed easily at all. So this book had a cliffhanger, obviously, because it's part of a trilogy, so I liked it the way it left off. I have to finish all of them before I give my complete final apt analysis on this whole trilogy, which maybe I'll do a separate episode about. But yeah, this one was pretty decent. I would recommend it. Usually at the end of these videos, I would pick out a quote or a passage to read that I personally thought was important to share. But again, I read this a year ago. I didn't plan on regurgitating any of this information. I read a couple books that I'm gonna make content on just to make some real quick. But in the future, with current books that I'm reading, I'm gonna start tabbing and pulling out passages that mean something to me. So I definitely have a few more videos, a lot more, because I've read a decent amount of books, and it doesn't take anything but 10 or 15 minutes just to make a quick video about it. So I'm going to hopefully pump out a lot of content about books if anybody's really looking to consume this type of content. I have a lot more coming. So this book, once again, 4 out of 5 in my opinion. If you are into like those young reader type of books, I'll probably do another video on the whole trilogy. Maybe I'll just save the whole trilogy for its own separate video. But my reviews on these books are not like the final say so. So if you read a book that I've read and you hate it, I mean, you can hate it. We all have different opinions. So we all have different tastes, so whether or not I say to buy this and then you go and buy this and read it and it's the worst book you've ever read, trade it in and get another one. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just a book. If it's a book where it's kind of like I couldn't even get through the first. But again, a lot of people are different, because I read 1984 and I'll do a video on 1984. I had my friends read it and they kind of couldn't understand it, but versus me, I loved it. That was probably one of my favorite books, so I'll do a video on that one separately. But Atlantis, Jean, first in the series, A.G. Riddle. I got this on Amazon, like I said, for about $20. Yeah, thanks for watching the video, and I will be doing more.